Ever get that nagging feeling like, you're just one unexpected event away from things going sideways?
Yeah.
We all kind of crave that sense of being prepared.
Right.
So today, we're doing exactly that, taking a direct route to some seriously valuable knowledge.
Indeed. Think of this as your rapid immersion into the core survival principles from Bear Grylls' How to Stay Alive. We've basically sifted through the key insights, the practical strategies you can use when life throws you that curveball.
Whether you're out in the wilderness or maybe navigating an urban emergency.
Exactly.
And our intel comes straight from the source, well, a concentrated version anyway. We've got excerpts from a really comprehensive summary of the book, basically boiling down Grylls' often, extreme experiences into actionable takeaways for you.
Right.
Our mission, to extract those essential nuggets that can genuinely boost your chances of survival, both physically and mentally, when the best laid plans, don't pan out.
Oh, so where does one even begin with all this? The book immediately establishes a foundational truth, something that goes beyond just packing a backpack full of gear.
Absolutely. Grylls jumps right into the critical importance of mental and physical readiness. And the mental aspect. That seems like the real linchpin here.
It really is.
He stresses the need to remain calm, to actively fight that, surge of panic, and to maintain clear, logical thinking. It makes perfect sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Panic is just a massive energy drain, and it completely sabotages good decision-making.
Which is exactly what you need most in a crisis.
Precisely. That ability to control your thoughts, that's the bedrock. That's what successful survival actions are built on. It lets you assess situations rationally and, crucially, conserve vital energy.
Okay.
And speaking of practicalities, the book then transitions to the tangible stuff, the must-have survival equipment.
Okay, let's break down the essential kit then. Grylls lists some non-negotiables. Starts with a reliable knife. Seems fundamental, right?
Totally indispensable. Cutting, preparing, maybe even defense. Yeah. Then he emphasizes a water purification method because, without clean water, nothing else matters for long.
Not for long at all.
Fire-starting tools are next: warmth, signaling, purifying water. Fire's like a multi-tool in itself. A well-equipped first aid kit, obviously. And then the classic navigation tools, map and compass, plus a versatile multi-tool. It's a surprisingly focused list, actually.
Yeah, what's significant is the emphasis on versatility and reliability, not just sheer quantity. Each item serves multiple functions.
Right.
And he's quite clear on needing durable, layered clothing, stuff that can adapt to changing weather without adding tons of bulk or restricting you.
Yeah, like a good insulating layer under a waterproof shell gives you options a single heavy jacket doesn't.
Exactly.
That layering concept makes total sense. And it's not just what you pack, but how you pack it.
Yeah.
Grylls is like a big proponent of meticulous organization.
Oh, definitely. Using waterproof bags, having a specific place for each item.
It might sound a bit much, but in a high-stress situation, knowing instantly where your tinder is, that could be the difference between a warming fire and, a really miserable night.
It all circles back to that mental clarity, doesn't it? Less frantic searching, more decisive action.
Exactly. This initial groundwork is so important. It kind of demystifies survival a bit. Shows it's not some, innate ability only a few people have.
Right. It starts with a prepared mind and a few thoughtfully chosen, well-organized tools. These core basics are accessible to everyone willing to learn.
All right, so you've got your head in the game, a basic kit assembled. What takes priority next? My guess is staying hydrated becomes pretty crucial pretty quickly.
You're absolutely right. Water is life, especially in a survival scenario. Grylls details various water procurement techniques, and honestly, some of them might genuinely surprise you.
Okay, lay it on me. Collecting dew with a cloth. That sounds almost fantastical.
But it works. It can provide those critical first few ounces of moisture. And then there's the more obvious stuff, like setting up rain catchments using tarps or any containers you can find. And when the environment gets tougher, the methods become even more resourceful, like the solar still in a desert, using condensation to pull water from the ground and plants.
Wow, that's clever.
That's a real aha moment, Shows that ingenuity born of necessity. And in colder places, melting snow and ice is an option, though you got to consider the energy it takes.
Right, everything you do costs energy in that situation.
Right.
And once you've found water, it's not automatically safe to drink, is it? What about purification?
No, definitely not safe automatically. That's a non-negotiable step. Untreated water can carry all sorts of nasty stuff. Boiling is presented as the most reliable method.
Simple heat kills the bugs.
Pretty much. But Grylls also mentions backups, like chemical purification tablets or even improvised filters made from layers of sand, gravel, charcoal. The key is having options and knowing their limits.
Okay, water secured. Now for the other big one, food. This is where maybe some of us might feel a little less comfortable with the options.
Indeed. Finding food requires a different kind of awareness, a deep understanding of your immediate surroundings. Grylls really emphasizes basic foraging skills and knowing how to correctly identify edible plants.
That sounds like a high-stakes game of botanical roulette.
Yeah.
How do you confidently figure out what's safe and what's, poisonous?
Well, he stresses becoming intimately familiar with local plant life before an emergency hits. That's key. And he outlines the universal edibility test.
Oh, yeah.
It's a methodical process separating parts of the plant, testing tiny amounts very gradually, waiting for any adverse reactions. It's about minimizing risk through careful observation and patience.
That cautious approach makes sense. Better hungry than seriously ill, right?
Absolutely.
What about more calorie-dense options? I'm thinking protein sources, animals.
Yeah, for those vital calories, animal sources are significant. Grylls talks about basic trapping and fishing, making snares, improvising spears.
Right.
And here's where you might have that surprising realization. He highlights insects as a critical protein source.
Insects, like grasshoppers and ants.
Grasshoppers, ants, yeah. Apparently they can be life-sustaining in a pinch. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, protein definitely takes on a new meaning. It requires a shift in mindset for most of us in the West, for sure.
It does.
But I suppose in a survival situation, nutritional needs probably outweigh cultural squeamishness.
That's the reality. He also talks about understanding animal behavior, their habitats, to improve trapping success, gives practical advice on baiting, building traps with minimal resources. It sounds like a real return to fundamental skills.
It really does.
And throughout all this, the recurring theme is just caution. Positive identification is paramount, plant or animal. Knowing your own allergies or sensitivities is crucial. And when in doubt, prioritize boiled water and familiar foods. Always the safest strategy. This whole area is full of those unexpected but potentially life-saving insights.
Okay, so from food and water, we move to staying protected from the elements. Shelter and fire, these seem absolutely non-negotiable too.
They are indeed fundamental. Fundamental to well-being when you're exposed. Shelter gives protection. Fire serves multiple vital roles. Let's start with shelter. Grylls describes different types based on the environment.
Like building a simple lean-to in a forest, using fallen branches, foliage for cover.
Exactly. Or finding natural shelters like rock overhangs or small caves in drier areas. And in freezing conditions, even making snow caves or igloos. It's all about using what's available, the landscape itself.
Right.
The key things for an effective shelter: protection from rain, wind, extreme temperatures. And it needs to be something you can build relatively quickly, realistically, with what you've got.
And location matters too, right?
Location is critical. You want to be away from immediate hazards like flash flood zones or unstable slopes, close enough to resources like water and firewood, but not so close you're inviting unwanted wildlife encounters.
That makes perfect sense. Your shelter shouldn't become a hazard itself. Okay, and then there's fire. It's so much more than just warmth, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a multifaceted tool. Warmth is obvious, prevents hypothermia, but fire lets you cook food, purify water by boiling it, and it's a crucial signaling device.
So how do you actually make fire? Grylls covers different methods.
He does. From the primitive bow drill technique, which takes, frankly, a lot of practice and skill.
Yeah, I've seen videos. Looks incredibly hard.
It is challenging. To more modern methods, like using a ferrocerium rod and striker, or even a battery and some steel wool, what's your take on how accessible those are?
Well, the modern methods, like a ferro rod, they seem much more practical for most people with a bit of practice. Starting a bow drill fire in an emergency feels unlikely for the average person.
Probably. And he rightly emphasizes the crucial step of preparation. Gathering the right tinder, that dry, easily ignitable stuff like grass, leaves, bark shavings, and kindling, those small twigs that catch easily.
You need that good base.
Precisely. And knowing how to arrange it for airflow, the teepee or log cabin shapes he mentions, that's key to getting a sustainable flame. Then it's just about feeding it carefully as it grows.
Right.
And he makes a vital point. Practice is essential. Being able to reliably start a fire in different weather. That skill could genuinely save your life.
Absolutely.
And don't forget signaling a big fire at night or thick smoke from adding green leaves during the day, that can be your lifeline to rescuers. These are tangible skills you can actually learn and refine.
Okay, you've managed shelter, fire. Now, how do you increase your chances of actually getting out of there? That's where navigation and signaling for rescue come in.
Exactly. These are the skills that can lead to your safe return. Navigation starts with the basics, using a map and compass. Grylls stresses correctly orienting the map, knowing how to plot your position, how to follow a bearing. He notes his book gives detailed step-by-step instructions.
But what if you find yourself without those tools? Can you still figure out which way to go using nature?
Absolutely. Grylls explains how to use natural indicators. During the day, watching the sun's movement, the shadows it casts, gives you a general east-west line.
Okay.
At night, constellations like the Big Dipper pointing to the North Star invaluable in the northern hemisphere, and even subtle clues. Moss often growing thicker on the north side of trees up here, streams generally flowing downhill, animal trails often leading to water. It's about cultivating really keen observation.
Right, really paying attention. And once you have a sense of where you are or maybe which way to go, how do you effectively signal for help?
Signaling is paramount. He outlines the universal distress signals. 3 fires in a triangle, 3 whistle blasts, 3 flashes from a mirror. That signal mirror, even a small one, can reflect sunlight for miles.
Wow.
And making smoke signals, adding green stuff to a fire to make thick, visible smoke that can also attract attention, especially from the air.
What about modern tech? GPS, phones.
He does address that. GPS units, satellite phones, personal locator beacons, they're useful, for sure. But he also cautions about conserving battery power, finding the best spot for a signal.
Good point.
And importantly, he reiterates that knowing the primitive methods is essential because tech can, and often does, fail when you need it most.
That's a crucial reminder. Relying only on tech is risky. He also advises creating a signal plan before you even go out.
Yes. Telling someone your route, your expected return time, maybe setting up check-in points. It sounds basic, but it could massively speed up a rescue if something goes wrong. It's all about having that clear framework.
Exactly. Preparation isn't just gear, it's planning too.
Precisely.
Now, even with the best prep and skills, unexpected injuries, illnesses, they can still happen. That's where first aid knowledge becomes absolutely vital.
Couldn't agree more. Medical emergencies in the wild, or any survival situation really, they're unpredictable. Basic first aid proficiency is essential. Grylls emphasizes quickly assessing the situation, prioritizing immediate needs.
Like performing that primary survey check in the ABCs. Airway, breathing, circulation. That sounds like step 1, always.
It is. Making sure the person has a clear airway, is breathing, has a pulse, that's the immediate priority. Then being able to recognize and manage shock.
How do you spot shock?
Looking for signs like pale, clammy skin, maybe a rapid, weak pulse, dizziness, and knowing what to do, keep them warm, calm, elevate their legs if possible.
Okay.
He also covers managing common stuff. Minor cuts, blisters, how to stabilize fractures with improvised splints, treating burns by cooling the area, and dealing with hypothermia by carefully rewarming the person.
And having a well-stocked first aid kit is key, I imagine. What kind of things does he say should be in there?
Absolutely paramount. He lists specifics: adhesive bandages, sterile gauze, antiseptic wipes, medical tape, small scissors, tweezers, pain relievers, any personal meds you need, and a multi-tool is handy too.
Good list.
He even suggests including a basic wilderness first aid manual for reference and stresses regularly checking the kit, replacing anything used or expired. It's about having the tools ready.
So we've covered a lot of the physical aspects of staying alive. But Grylls also spends a good amount of time on something just as critical, maybe even more so: psychological resilience.
You're absolutely right. He really underscores that mental fortitude can often be the ultimate deciding factor. It's about cultivating and maintaining that inner strength when things get overwhelming.
So what are the key components of building that resilience in a crisis?
Mindset is number 1. Grylls emphasizes adopting and holding on to a positive, proactive outlook even when things look grim. Setting small, achievable goals gives you that sense of progress, keeps you moving forward, and crucially, effectively managing fear, stress, and fatigue.
But how do you practically manage those intense feelings and, the physical drain in a survival scenario?
Well, he suggests acknowledging fear, but not letting it paralyze you. Using techniques like deep breathing, maybe some mindfulness, can help keep it in check. For stress, it's about consciously rationing your mental energy. Prioritizing tasks, trying not to dwell on setbacks, Visualization, mentally rehearsing success, can be powerful for maintaining hope.
And fatigue.
Combating fatigue involves conserving physical energy whenever possible, taking scheduled breaks, grabbing rest when you can, and, if you're in a group, sharing the workload effectively.
He even shares stories from his own expeditions, like climbing Everest, right? To show how breaking down huge challenges into smaller steps is key for mental toughness.
Exactly, it illustrates that point perfectly. And he makes a strong case that mental preparation, mental training, is just as vital as physical conditioning.
That really hits home. You need to actively train your mind too. And it ties back to not feeling overwhelmed. Breaking down the challenge mentally makes it seem more conquerable.
Precisely, building that inner reservoir of resilience.
So we've explored these core survival skills from how to stay alive. But the book's wisdom isn't just for extreme wilderness stuff, is it? He talks about broader applications too.
Absolutely. He uses his own diverse experiences to show how these fundamental principles apply in lots of contexts, even everyday life. Think about him finding water in the Sahara with a solar still that shows resourcefulness in any tough spot.
Yeah.
Or building a makeshift raft in the jungle that's about adaptability when facing unexpected obstacles. Even his work in urban disaster zones after earthquakes highlights why having a basic emergency kit at home and knowing first aid is critical for everyone.
And his Arctic trips really hammer home the importance of the right gear and knowledge to avoid frostbite and hypothermia lessons relevant even in less extreme cold.
Exactly.
But it's not just about physical survival, is it? He talks about how these skills build general resilience for everyday life, too.
He does. Overcoming personal fears, setting ambitious goals, pushing through mental barriers. The mental toughness you develop from understanding survival principles is incredibly valuable everywhere. It reinforces that preparation and self-reliance aren't just for emergencies. They're a proactive, empowering approach to life. Ultimately, learning and practicing these skills builds confidence, self-sufficiency, that feeling you can handle things.
He shares some really impactful quotes, too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
About perseverance, about courage, being mastering fear, not lacking it.
Yes, and the idea that mindset is key and that taking action is more important than trying to prepare for every single tiny possibility. It all comes back to building resilience and acting decisively.
It truly does. It's about empowering yourself to face the unpredictable with, well, more confidence.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into how to stay alive, it's pretty clear this isn't just a manual for, hardcore adventurers.
No, not at all.
It's really a guide to cultivating a mindset, acquiring essential skills, and fostering a level of preparedness that can benefit absolutely anyone, regardless of where they live or what they do.
Precisely. It's about equipping yourself not just for the unlikely extremes, but also for the everyday uncertainties life throws at us.
So maybe consider what small step you could take today to enhance your own readiness for the unexpected.
Yeah, whether that's packing a basic emergency kit for your home or car, or even just taking a few moments to mentally walk through potential scenarios, thinking about how you might respond. Because as we've explored, survival isn't solely about the extreme wilderness. It's a proactive mindset that empowers you in all aspects of your life.
Very well put.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into how to stay alive.
My pleasure.
Until our next exploration.